Hey Airsofters, so I decided to do a little product update here. First I want to talk about this. This is the Action Army AAP-01 and this is my go-to primary weapon, but I use HPA. Gas cartridges are garbage, but I run an HPA adapter through this thing. And it's been working great except for eventually part of it broke. So let me show you what it's the stainless steel. I mean, it's the steel pin firing lock. I can never remember, but this thing with the hook is the firing lock, and the standard one is just cast steel. So it eventually broke off and actually ended up inside my barrel of all things. Hopefully, it didn't ruin the bucking inside there. I've since just replaced this with a cast stainless steel, so this might break as well. But I ordered some CNC stainless steel ones, but they might take 2 months or whatever to show up, so this will get me going for now. Other than that breaking, it's been pretty good, except I've noticed that on almost all pistols the mag release sticks out too far, and I always accidentally hit it when I'm pulling it out of a holster. So this one's, I took a Dremel and some sanding files and sandpaper, and it's very, very low profile. You could actually probably make it flush and still make it work. I did that to my Glock 34 as well. The only other upgrade I have is the TTI short stroke trigger, and this is the best investment I've made for sure, because it takes up all the play out of the trigger. I did try the TTI short stroke kit, but it wouldn't work. So if anyone actually has a TTI short stroke kit, please tell me, which spacer you used, if not both spacers, because I tried it all. I tried it with the small spacer, the long spacer, both spacers, and it just didn't work properly, so I removed it. But the trigger's great. Alright, so anyways, this should be working now again, and it's fantastic. One nice thing about this particular old gun is I put a plastic nut in bolt. I think it's an M4. Let me tell you guys actually for sure. Okay. Seems the company has been around since 2010. It's nice that it's cardboard packaging, right? I know even if this ends up in the ocean, which is still not good, at least it's wood, right? It's going to degrade, except for maybe those plastic labels. Alright, let's see what's going on in the instructions here. That seems all the same as usual. Alright. Tells you how to remove the inner barrel and all that stuff. Adjusting the hop up I think is a little different than it used to be. In fact, let's pay attention to that. Clockwise or counterclockwise? Plus. I guess plus means move upwards. So I don't understand, right? It doesn't say up here clockwise will raise the hop up or lower the BB, right? It just, you're gonna have to experiment. Hopefully I'll figure that out. There's a safety button like before, and now the full auto switch is actually exposed on the outside instead of inside the gun like the previous one. I never play with full auto, so tells you how to disassemble the thing, so that's kind of nice. I guess I'll probably might have to mess around with the mag release. I might have to shave that down. And then here's a parts list. So the part number 45 is what I replaced in that tan one I showed you, because it's cast. Okay, so that's actually a pretty good set of instructions. It pretty much tells me everything I want to know. Alright, let's get rid of this sticker. So, yeah, just comparing, the grips are quite different. This one's a lot smoother, obviously, whereas this one literally has like a recess for getting some fabric in there. I wear gloves when I play, so just in a bare hand though, it does feel obviously a lot smoother, but it's not. One thing that's most noticeable is this. On the tan one, this checkerboard, it's really gripping into my hand, whereas this dragon scale, it's pretty smooth. I don't think it's a concern, to be honest with you, but maybe if you're playing barehanded, which is kind of crazy to me, and it's wet out, maybe you do want to actually get the checkerboard one because it really digs into you. But it's nice that they have some changes. It gives motivation to buy this just because it's a little bit more different. The front ribbing there, that seems to be identical. Okay, so here you can see a comparison. This is the stock mag release that was in here, and you can just see how much it sticks out. Right, that whole front end is sticking out quite a bit. If I want to be really nerdy about it, it's sticking out 5 millimeters, really, right? Maybe even 6. So yeah, when I pull it out of a holster, it would just, the mag would drop out. So I'm gonna shave that down later on. And then it's got your standard Glock trigger. So this little bit is a safety. So you'll see it, the back end of that thing is pressing against the body, so I can't pull the trigger. So once you pull that in, the whole trigger can go in. That's just how all Glocks, real Glocks, work. But there's so much travel here. In fact, let's cock this thing and see how much movement there is. See, look at that. That's a lot of movement. Let's try to measure that. So that's where that point is. That's a whole centimeter of movement before it breaks. So that's a waste of time, that 1 centimeter. If you're brand new to shooting guns, then I guess it's probably pretty smart. But like this one, I have it set so it's like 2 or 3 millimeters. I can have it totally zeroed out. That's the beauty of this one. There's a set screw inside of there, so you can adjust how much slack there is. Okay, so I'm going to upgrade that trigger later on. The safety is the same as the other one. Red means danger, stranger danger. If you don't see red, you're not going to bleed, so the trigger will not move whatsoever. And it's just a plastic piece, but it does its job. I actually prefer the plastic because it's a lightweight gun, which actually leads to the next question. Like, how heavy is this stuff? Granted, this one's modified, so it's probably not a good example. Zero it out. So without the magazine, it's 405 grams. My modified one is actually lighter. What is up with that, right? I did not expect that. And this one has an aluminum trigger, slightly heavier, this rubber thing, that screw. So that's really unexpected. 389. So something inside of this thing, it must be made out of metal to account for all that extra weight. Interesting. Alright, let's go over the rest of the outside though. You do have a flashlight, well, laser flashlight rail, some sort of Picatinny rail there. Obviously it has the same size as up here, so you can put a scope up here. But you can't put the scope on from the front, you can't slide it on. You would have to have a mount that comes on from the side, and then you screw it down in place. So that's something to keep in mind. But it's better than this, which has absolutely nothing. Although these 2 holes allow you to buy an extra optional rail system. But I don't even need sights when I'm playing. I'm playing in such tight quarters. Sorry, one of my display coasters was spinning. Alright, let's see. Yeah, the pins, being a Glock system, the pins, the disassembly pins are all in the same location. This looks actually slightly different. This is the catch for the action. So You know, this one looks a lot shorter. This one is a bit longer. Sticking out wise, let's see here. This one is not sticking out all too much, right? This one is sticking out more, so that's what the difference is. This one is actually bent 90 degrees here. This one is not bent at all. So what that means to me is this one can never scratch the plastic, right? It just can't scratch it because it's just sitting against that surface. But this one might literally start digging out a channel in here if you use this a lot. I mean, it would take a lot, but every time I press on that, right, that little piece of metal is sliding against that plastic back. So it does, I guess, let the thumb catch it more because it's sticking out of the body more. It's a trade-off, really. I guess I would prefer the old one, but I'm okay with that. Alright, that is this side of the gun, it looks like. Yeah, the actual pulling grips here for the action. This one has a bunch of ridges. This one has two chevrons. This one is flared more like a cone, so it's really easy to get your gloves around that thing. This doesn't look like it's not conical. It's just a cylinder, you know, from the back. So this is definitely grippier, but only time will tell if this ever slips in my gloves. I kind of doubt it would. It's still sticking out enough that gloves will grab that, right? It's not even really about grabbing these things. It's just that the tip of your finger is going to go past this edge. That's what's really pulling the action, I think. Okay. Interesting styling. Definitely looks like a modern kind of weapon or something. With all these facets. It's almost like a stealth fighter, kind of, sort of. There is a tan version, I believe. I might be mistaken, but I decided to go with black just to mix it up. So you cannot flip this over. You can see there's a shape to it. So I can't have it for left-handed people. I'm a righty, so it doesn't really bother me anyways. Yeah, that's the same with this one. I never even paid attention to that. I don't know. Maybe there's an aftermarket. Actually, no, I think I'm mistaken. Because if I did flip this over, this side has that opening for it. So yeah, I'm mistaken. I'm pretty positive. If I flipped it over, it would just look like that, right, on this side. Yeah. Alright, so I take that back. Oh, this is... Well, I didn't even notice this is ambidextrous here. I also never noticed this rectangular piece. But it's there. Okay. I think the inside, the bolt is the same. It has caliber 6mm BB, and that's part molded into the casting there. Going to the optics, well, the fiber optic sights, I think they're identical. You know, two in the back, two greens in the back, the orange in the front, but they seem to have the same horizontal ribbing to help reduce glare from the sun. Top-wise, let's see if the shapes are the same. They look the same to me, at least off initial impressions. That looks the same. The front sight also looks the same, and I'm fine with that. If it keeps the gun's price down, it's perfectly good. One thing though is like this optic is really embedded in this like channel here. Like the plastic is literally above the base of the optic, whereas you know on this one the whole sight is sticking out on top of the barrel. So I guess it doesn't matter so much, right? Because you're still only looking at the 3 dots if you're really using your sights at all, which I almost never do because I'm shooting so close to people. So yeah, it looks the same. Functionally for me, it's going to be the same. Alright, anything else noticeable? This ribbing here is the same. This one you can also add another piece if you want to put accessories on, but it doesn't come standard. One thing that is missing from this is a threaded barrel, but we'll get to that later. Alright, let's take it apart. Okay, so on this one I took a paint marker, you know, and I have up in this arrow. So if I move the hop up, this is the hop up gear, that'll, you know, send the BB upwards. So it's got to be the same. I'm assuming the same parts here for, yeah, it looks identical to me. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. So I've never even tried it, but I guess you could jam your pinky in there and adjust the hop up without having to take this apart. I've never even bothered doing that. I always take the gun apart. But you can... that is not easy. I'll try to show you from the underside. So in theory, you might be able to do this. But I cannot. That really hurts the fingers. I can't move that down. Let's see if it's just stuck. Yeah, that's really, that just, I don't know, that's not easy at all. It's really tight. I don't know what the deal is. On this one here, it's actually pretty easy to move. Yeah, you see, I moved it there. See, it's moving. Now my hop up's all messed up. But this one is initially very tight. I don't know if there's too much tension. Alright, hold on a sec. So I just have a plastic foam pry tool, and you know, I don't want to crack the teeth off, but maybe, yeah, there we go. Maybe it's just initial stickiness. Also, it might make sense to just put a bunch of silicone oil in here. Alright, so now that I broke that loose, let's see if I can actually do this with my finger through the opening. Yeah, okay. So that is nice, I guess. I just think it's easier to take the thing apart and do it this way, but everyone has their different, it's nice to have options, right, how to engage with it. Alright, so here's the underside. We're in the past. This is the full auto switch. If you flick this downwards, it goes full auto. That's why there's an A down there. And then there's just one up on the top, so it's single shot there. But here it says S and F. I'm assuming S is for single and F is for full, but now it's basically backwards from this one, right? So right now it's on full auto, which is not cool. I gotta switch that to well, actually, you know what? This might just be how you interpret the letters. You see, when I move the switch this direction, the full auto went that way. So I almost think maybe this is full auto, and that might be single after all. Let's see. I guess I'll have to shoot it to find out, but I have a suspicion. Man, that's not smart design, right? It would be smart if they actually just wrote F here and S there, or the other way around, so then the switch is closer to the letter. But that is not particularly intuitive, for me at least. It might be backwards or not, I don't know. We'll find out when I shoot the thing. I'm not going to take that apart. I don't want to mess with it. There's not much, well, no, there is some oil right there. Yeah, alright, so yeah, there's oil on top, so you could probably actually shoot the thing right out of the box. I like to always just have a lot of extra oil and stuff, you know, to prevent stiction. I think that scrape is from one of these screws, maybe being too tight, but it doesn't matter anymore, it's scraped away. Alright, So let's shoot this thing in standard form. This is a rubber insert to my understanding. I'm going to swap that out later with the threaded barrel insert because I run a tracer. But we might as well try it stock first. It's a standard Action Army Glock style magazine. Let's see if there's any gas in it. No, there wasn't. So, all right. And then if you wanted to, service this thing, you got to push this button down. Then you can unscrew that. But there's an O-ring. You got to be careful you don't destroy it. And once you remove that, you can pull this plate out, and then you can access this spring and this little end stop and the actual end stop for the BBs. Alright, every now and then you want to drop some oil in here so you can lubricate the O-rings that are behind there. Green gas itself usually has oil in it, so just using green gas, proper airsoft gas, will theoretically keep all this stuff lubed up properly. So one last thing, I'm sure it's the same as the other mag I have, 275 grams empty. So all in, now this whole gun is 680 grams. It's actually quite heavy for its size. I would have guessed it'd be lighter. Still a mystery as to where that extra weight is coming from. But maybe it's this rubber piece. No, that doesn't make sense. Very strange. Oh, one thing I am noticing. Oh, well, here we go. We got the letters. So now we know this is semi and that's full auto. So it is properly marked. It's just I was looking at the wrong angle. Alright, so that's good. You might want to... I'm going to put some red paint in that F because I don't ever want to go full auto. It would be really hard to hit this by accident, by the way. I mean, it's kind of sticking out, so you can get your fingernail there, and you can... Well... Oh, you know what? I can't move it when the action is closed. Yeah, there's a big detent in there, so there's something you have to overcome. Maybe a ball or something. It takes a significant amount of force to move that. Let's see if I can do it now that I know how much force is needed. See, my fingernails literally trying to peel off. Oh, no, I got it. So yeah, you just have to put a lot of force behind it. Let me try it again. Okay, maybe that'll loosen up over time. So that is nice, I guess, to have, the ability to swap that without actually even having to open the bolt up. I know a lot of you guys must like to just shoot the thing full auto. But me, I don't do that. Just want it hollowed out. Okay. Alright, so I have it loaded up with just 20 gram BBs here. This is a completely brand new can of propane. It doesn't have a kg rating, but it's the cheapest propane I can buy, so I imagine it's probably the weakest, not a very strong propane. Alright, so let's fill this up. No sound, but just a little top off just in case. So, new can. So that's going to put out a lot of speed, probably. We're going to find out. Let's move this over here. Always getting this screen focused is always a challenge. Have it close enough to the screen, but actually still be able to have the gun next to it. So I think we're good there. Let me cock this thing. Alright, shot one. Alright, shot two. Shot one didn't register. There's something wrong with these cronies. They don't work. So the second shot was 298. 258. No, 298. Oh, I see. It's going up. This now it's 296. Let the gas expand. 237. So I think the gas is getting cold. This is why I don't like gas cartridges. It's back to 272 because I let the gas expand. And it's out. So only 9 shots registered out of that whole magazine. These chronographs are garbage, or this is a defective one. I don't know. I bought 2 chronographs and both the same. I even threw the other one out. The spread here, it got as low as 237, and then it still climbed. After letting it rest, it went back to 278. So, you know, propane gas is a liquid. It needs time to expand, and if you shoot fast, these things just don't work well. So I'm literally, yeah, this feels cold to my hand right now. It did shoot all the BBs, so that's good. It's just the chronograph isn't good. Alright, well, that's it for the speed. Meaning it's really slow, right? Even the very first shot out of a very brand new propane tank gas can was under 300. My indoor fields shoot 350, so this is definitely a very, very close quarters combat. I think you'd be kind of foolish to take this outside and actually use it as a primary weapon with the actual standard cartridge magazines, that is. But when I go HPA, it doesn't matter. I can shoot whatever speed I want. So here you can see a bunch of, a trail for around 330, 340 FPS. That's what I'm going to have this thing set at on HPA, but I want to let you guys know this is a gas hog. Let me show you. All right, first I have a primary adapter, the line, going to a tank. So the PSI on the actual gun side is like 180. When I run my regular AAP, it's more like 110. So I kept on cranking it up thinking something's wrong. I went and lubricated this entire thing, top and bottom, so there's no drag in there. Maybe it just takes time to wear in some of the parts, but that shouldn't be. Well, I don't know, maybe it does. But right now, I have to have this PSI way up to 180, which is really crazy. Because even my Glock 34, which has a very long slide, stainless steel, very heavy, that's still also around like 110. So I don't know why this thing needs so much PSI just to shoot 340 FPS, but it does. So just be mindful of that. You're going to use up more gas. Well, in this case, more air. Okay, let's test accuracy. So I have a tape measure, and I've measured this out to be 6 meters away, which is around 20 feet for you Westerners. And here's how I mounted it. It's in a gun vise, a pretty strong Manfrotto tripod, but the magazine is held in with foam. But even though the magazine is held in tight, you can see with the pistol here, I can rock it, right? This is play in that magazine, oh, I see, the play is down here by the M4 magazine. So what that means is I still have to hold the pistol, to make sure it's as accurate as possible. I'm just going to use the fiber optic sights. Jam. It jammed twice. So the gun jammed twice. I think, there's a lot of friction going on because it's brand new. So I might as well show you full auto, even though I'll never use this full auto again. But, if I put a few hundred rounds of this full auto through, it's going to hopefully loosen up and slick up some of the parts inside of the action. Whoa, what's going on? See, the bolt doesn't want to return, but I looped the whole thing up. There's something wrong with this gun. So you're gonna watch me loop this thing again. Alright, so loop up the slide points, a little trigger loop there. Okay, that's the bottom part. This is the critical part. The top rails. Any friction here with the magazine. Open it up. I like to loop these. Do that on the other side. Loop the top. And then also loop the inside tracks while it's open. So that's it. I don't know how much more lubrication I can put in this thing. It is lubed like a ridiculous amount. And it returns fine here. And the clamp has nothing to do with the gun. So I'm not clamping the gun. There's no clamping forces affecting this thing. It's on full auto. Let's see what happens. It will not full auto. So let me go back to semi-auto. This is crazy. I'm just gonna crony the thing again because I think the air pressure is too high. It just doesn't make sense. The action will not return. That's the problem. .337, right? So it's not. There's a lot of pressure going through there, but it's not actually shooting very, very high. I wonder if somehow the bucking is messed up. I tell you guys, I was just about to put up a really bad review of this thing because basically when I buy something, I want it to work, and it wasn't working. It turns out it was the bucking. Something was wrong with the bucking when they put the thing together. So I took the whole barrel out, I took the bucking out of there, and I put it all back together, but I didn't over tighten anything, you know, just really lightly tightened stuff so it's not pinching too much. And now it seems to be working. So semi-auto, HPA, right? And then I'll just show you full auto, although I don't really use that stuff. Okay, so I'm not expecting much accuracy, but I guess I'll set up a piece of paper. Alright, this is 6 meters away, so I'm only going to shoot it loose. I'm not going to put it into a bench because I don't know where I'd really want to clamp it. If I clamped it on the magazine, it's really loose anyways. So no matter what, I kind of have to stabilize it with my hands. So I'm just going to hold it with 2 hands, you know. And let's just do single fire. Okay. So that's just 10 shots. You know, my accuracy probably isn't very good. I tried to keep the gun in the same place. And well, you know what? That's good enough for me. At 6 meters, that's easily going to take someone out, you know. No one's chest is smaller than that. No one, you know, I could even be pretty consistent hitting someone's arm or foot. So actually, it's quite impressive, the accuracy of this. I'm pretty sure if you actually put it into like a bench vise, it would actually be very, very good. But for me, I'm not too concerned about it. Okay, so that's it. I think it's accurate. The main thing right now is you gotta, you know, don't get frustrated. I was really angry, but I took the whole thing apart, put the bucking back in, and now the slide action, you know, returns as it should and reloads the BB. Alright, glad to know the gun is working, and the next day we got some parts in, and these are what I need to use because I use a tracer. So we gotta first swap out this little rubber thing up front with the threaded barrel adapter. So these two screws, because this is a plastic body, you really don't want to have these screws very tight because you'll literally warp the body, and that could cause, you know, some of the slide problems, although it wasn't in my case. There's a little bit of threadlock on there, so you might want to have low strength threadlock as well once you put it back together. So now we need a smaller hex. You know what? Maybe I don't even need to do this. I see two screws up here under this rail system. Maybe that's what's holding it together. It's also not a bad idea to have a magnet handy, so you don't have the screws roll off your table into a carpet or down a vent in the floor or something like that. So yeah, you can see it's nice that they add a little bit of blue thread lock. Although if you continually unscrew the thing, you're going to have to add some thread lock back. So there's a screw for the sight here. Possibly that's also holding it. Might as well take that out. That's a slightly different diameter. Interesting. Huh? Yeah, actually, it makes sense. The head was smaller. Okay. What is this? Maybe that's part of the molding process. Well, I don't want to pry in there because I think it's rubber. I don't want to like damage it. So I am just going to continue removing this whole barrel. And since I have it pretty much apart, just to tell you, if you do have the tension problem with the bucking, there's 4 screws here. You have to actually adjust the hop up here so you can get a driver past this wheel, but there's a cutout for it. And then I just put everything back together, and it works now. So it's kind of strange, right? It must have been slightly off, and there's pinching the rubber or something before. All right, now with that done, nope, that's not gonna work. Got a Sharpie here. Alright, so yeah. So this is a rubber piece. Yeah, as you can see. So now we have a official Action Army adapter. I don't know if anyone else makes an adapter. You would think that someone would make like a anodized aluminum one, you know, with pretty colors, purple, red, or whatnot. Alright, so this actually has a bag of screws as well. So there's a flat spot on one end, and naturally that's going to line up with the flat spot of this plastic piece. Okay. I'm assuming you're supposed to use the screws that they provide. This time I think because I unscrewed it a bunch of times, the hole seems a little looser than before now. See, I could just push it in there. I still can't feel if I'm catching the thread, so I'm just going slow, and I seem to have caught it. So, alright, so not very tight. In fact, I'll just shorten that down for the camera. These are just RC tools if you're curious. You can buy them on AliExpress. Alright, so that is that. That is locked in place. This is interesting. Why would there be this third screw in that bag? It can't be for this, right? Or can it? Maybe it is. It is the same size as, yeah, I guess. Maybe it's just not supposed to go deep in there. Oh, I'm really lucky that I didn't widen that hole with that larger screw. So the thing has an O-ring, and that'll keep the, hopefully, this thing is from falling off counterclockwise. No, it's actually not long enough. Well, it's too long, actually. The X-Cortec here isn't long enough, or the thread is too long. So, well, I might have to put a bigger piece of rubber to try to grab that. Alright, so I can put all this back together. Think this through before I mess it up again. I'm pretty sure it has to go in this way, right? That one you can clearly hear me catching the thread. The ones with the most threadlock on them still. Like this one and this one. Got the thread. Alright. Even if the screws are loose, they're mostly trapped. You know, those screws can't fall out. At least this one couldn't. It would be pressing up against the plastic there. I don't know about that one. I don't think it could fall out because it would eventually just rattle, you know, be caught by that. Alright, so that's, well, we gotta do the trigger next. So these screws, yeah, so this was the original one for the front sight. It was longer. Maybe. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't weigh the thing. Well, anyways, I like the triggers that these guys have. This is my third one now. I have that other AAP, as well as my Wii Glock 34. I did find their short stroke kit, though, didn't work. If you guys have an AAP, and did you get the short stroke kit to work? Again, I mentioned that earlier in the video, but I couldn't make it work. Oh boy, this is kind of a pain here. So, this is now kind of a disassembly thing, so we gotta get this thing out. You know what, maybe it has to go out. That's interesting. I don't think this side and that side are the same. So I think you have to push it out in that direction. Alright, let's do that again. I was just trying to keep the O-ring from getting messed up, but there we go. Yeah, alright, so you have to take everything out in that direction, just like the pins that are holding the gun together. Yeah, don't even need a hammer. There's also, I think, this screw, if I recall. I might have to remove that, because, yeah, the assembly doesn't want to come out. Interesting, I don't see any thread lock on these last three screws. Wonder why. That's gotta be a reason, right? Okay, so will that come out without taking out the rear? Alright, it will. So now TTI gives you a new pivot pin for that trigger, and then 2 grub screws that adjust the length and the stop. So it looks like the shorter grub screw goes into the top of the trigger, and that is what adjusts the travel of the trigger itself. You know what's weird? It doesn't have a tool. In the past it actually came with a tool. But I guess they're saving. Maybe they just realized most people have tools like this already. So right now it's kind of flush. We'll just leave it like that. What's unfortunate is there's no hole here. You know, you'll have to get a really short Allen screw. So that's why you probably want to get that as far forward as possible. In fact, even maybe sticking out a little bit. So you don't have to waste time, you know, with an Allen wrench, 6 billion revolutions. The question is, can I actually put this back together while this is in the gun? There we go. Oh, I need something for that to rest on. Maybe the old trigger? I try to hammer this in. Alright. I don't think that's going to fall out, because that thing is actually recessed now past that surface. Nope, so I think it'd just be easier if I took the whole thing apart. So you'll see again, the knurling is on this side of the gun. So you put in the pins from this side, but you push them out from this side. There's a spring underneath this hook piece. You gotta make sure you keep that thing from ejecting and vanishing in your place, so keep that in mind. Okay, there it is. It's just sitting there, but that very often might just fly off somewhere, so keep that in mind. Maybe I'll put it on the aluminum here first. Actually, it hooks down this way, so the spring is in this orientation to the trigger. Nope, I just put that on upside down. Then you gotta hook that spring around. There you go, like that. So it's on top of this thing. Now we gotta get all this up in here. Okay, so far so good. Now the challenge is to get this all in here without that spring working loose again. Come on. Stay. You can do it. Push the trigger down through the opening. Okay, so I think I may have gotten it. Now, alright, come on. I'm trying to get the frame out just a tiny bit. There we go. Put that spring in there, push the frame back in. Alright, so that spring is now trapped right there, right? Now put the pin in from this side. Go through the steel plate. Yeah, go through the trigger. Oh, that was less painful than I thought it would be. Needle nose pliers. I gotta get that spring up around this hook here now. Looks weird now, but that'll be corrected later. Making sure that spring didn't fly off anywhere. Now I can slide this back in above that piece. There we go. Alright, so it's supposed to be like that, I guess. Alright, so that went in okay. Okay, So that's, there we go. Alright, so the big smooth one is on the bottom. I don't know why that doesn't want to go in now. The top one seemed okay. There we go. Alright. So all you have to do is push it flush again. You know, I actually probably want to test it just to make sure. I'm going to slide the action back. Okay. Everything works as it should. Alright. Now I'll put those last 3 screws in. Alright, trigger goes away. So this pin, the original firing trigger pin, you don't need that anymore either. Just put this one up here. I don't know if it's supposed to catch a thread or not. Maybe not. Maybe it's literally screwing into the plastic down here. So you're not going to hear a click. Just be very slow and try to catch the thread that way. So again, not very tight. I don't want to strip the plastic out. And this one is going into metal, so you can back it up and click it in. There, you heard it click in there. Okay, so just finger tight these guys. That's fine. That's good enough for me. Maybe I'll thread lock those a different day. Alright, so now how much trigger play is there? That's the question now. So that much right now. Still tighter than stock, but I want to tighten that up. I want to have almost no movement. So now I gotta take that small. Yeah, while I'm at it, sorry, I might as well put the safety back in. I'm gonna have to assume you have to go backwards, so you want to come in from this side, and actually this says up, so I guess that's important, the direction of this, that. There, that was actually pretty painless. Just pull the trigger in, and you'll see it. You don't have to move that lever at all. So I'm counterclockwising it in. Let's see, that might have been too much. Well, maybe not. So looking at the trigger, there's still a little too much movement for me. Hopefully you can see that. It's just all black, you know. It's really hard to really see what's happening. But I can see a little hole. And I gotta find that grub screw in that hole. Let's just do 1 full revolution. Oh yeah, now it's like a millimeter of travel. I think that's good enough for now. Yep. Alright. So now, with these mods, let me get all this stuff out of the way. Let's see how heavy this is. This is pretty much how I'm going to play with this thing. Ounces. There's no time for ounces. Grams. This is 444 grams. Granted, your tracer is going to be, you know, varying. I like this X-Core because it's supposed to be able to shoot red BBs, although truthfully I can almost not see the red BBs. But it can also shoot green BBs, but it's really short. I have an Ace Tech as well, but the Ace Tech is longer. So right now this thing with no magazine is 416 grams. Since I use HPA, I don't care about the magazine weight. I don't remember what this thing weighed. So it's really interesting, you know, this stock one is 385 grams. I even added that little rubber thing there and the rubber thing here. Where is that extra weight coming from? It's like, did they switch over to a denser steel? I mean, there's more metal or denser metal somewhere in this thing. It's a significant difference. It's really strange. I mean, it looks the same. Like that piece is metal, but that looks the same, right? The action shapes look the same. The hammer looks the same. In general, all that looks very, very identical. But so then, is it all up in here? Can there really be that much extra metal? Just the way they changed this? Oh well. Let's see. No, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's not that important. But if you have some theories, please leave a comment. Maybe it's just denser steel. That's the only thing I can think about. In fact, let's weigh the halves. Here's the bottom half. 176. 172. So those are actually probably almost identical. It's just the plastic, you know, the grip and stuff might be those differences in grams. And maybe even me shaving stuff off the safety. So it seems like maybe the big weight difference is up top. 204. Man, I apologize. You aren't even seeing the scale, right? It's so reflective. 240 grams there. Yeah, that's a big difference. 213 versus 240. Alright, actually we have to factor in that this is now aluminum. And it's not rubber anymore, so that's got to add some weight as well. Alright. In the grand scheme of things, I guess at least it's more compact. You know, peering around a corner, it won't be as, you know, much of an issue. So essentially, hold on, let me put these back together. I'll show you those again. 176, 171. I'll put this tracer on. Now let's look at the length differences. So it's almost like, you know, almost a free tracer in its length. Yeah. So that's what I'm shooting for, versus where if the tracer was on here, it would be more like that, right? Hence the compact name. The last bit is the trigger over travel. This is the older TTI trigger, by the way, and it also has a travel stop, but I was never even thought to actually use it. So right now it's just there, right? And I'll show you that's the full travel length. You'll see that angle. It's a pretty steep angle. This one I think stops shorter because it literally has metal, you know, there. Maybe not. Let's see. You'll have to decide for yourself if you think those angles are the same. I do feel that this newer trigger that I'm moving is a steeper angle. But either way, both of them have the adjustment screw. So I went and drilled a hole through this. Now, it's really hard to drill a hole through such a wavy surface, so I recommend you make a pilot hole first. So I actually have a soldering iron that has a sharp tip, and I just melted the tip and then I drilled through it with drill bits. If you don't have a soldering iron, you just take like a sewing needle or anything sharp and just heat it up with a lighter, you know, just enough to melt the plastic, and then you can, you know, consecutively use larger drill bits, so you can just get a tool through here. So that is making my life a lot easier. Assuming I can find the hole there, and now I can see, right? I can screw on that over travel. So the goal is to, you know, have the trigger pull the return be as close as possible to not wasting movement. So let's see if I can activate the trigger. Nope, see, it's not, it's actually screwed in too much. So now let's try. Nope, still too much. Okay, so there. So essentially, that's basically the return, you know, travel of the trigger is less than previously. You know, even though you're able to take the shot quicker, if I want to take multiple shots quicker, this thing has to return from that distance, right, before I can reset it and reshoot it. But this one, it's the tip of the trigger is barely moving both directions. So I should be able to shoot very fast because there's less trigger play. Yeah, I hope that makes sense to you guys. But if not, maybe there's other videos on it. Alright, well that said, in summary, you know, if the thing is jamming, if for some reason this slide doesn't want to return, it's probably that bucking. So you got to take the whole thing apart, put it back together very carefully, make sure you pay attention how it's put together and put it back the same way. I'm sure there's plenty of YouTube videos on replacing the bucking on an AAP. Alright, so otherwise the only other upgrade I think you should buy is this trigger. And if you're going to run a tracer, obviously you need that adapter. And then I'm going to go and shave this thing down because I find that it's just not good for me. The only thing that's missing from this design is a center screw here, you know, because now I know this metal is going to hit my face mask if I keep it too close to my face mask. So I really wish they would come back and, you know, have another version where they have a center screw so you can put a piece of rubber back there. Alright, well thanks for watching today. I'll see you guys in the next Airsoft video.